All right, welcome. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We are missing a couple of folks. I know where I heard from Fran. Perhaps Jim and Misty will join us, but we have a quorum either way, so let's get going. Please stand and join me for the pledge. All right. We're trying out some new equipment tonight, so please bear with us and enjoy our fancy theater mics. I promise Cam Meek, if you're watching, we're being very careful. Though he's graduated now, he has to have handed the baton to someone. So upcoming meetings, we have July 24th, that is a Thursday, budget validation meeting right here in the high school cafetorium. The meeting itself will start at 6 p.m. The doors will open for voter registration at 5:30. We also will have, thanks to some high school students from the Community Service Club and the National Honor Society, we will have free childcare. Parents can drop off children in the library. Yeah.
Correct.
In the library, there'll be some snacks, there'll be some games. They'll also use the courtyard outside if the weather is nice, and we will have some adults in there as well. So feel free to take us up on that. July 30th, we will have a business meeting potentially to continue hiring staff. 6:30, place to be determined. We have added something that I'll speak to later, but August 20th, we will have a facilities meeting followed by a board workshop starting at 5:30 at the Dunn Library. And August 26th will be our second budget referendum at the polls, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. for New Gloucester residents at the fire station, and 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for Gray at New Begin Gym. So, action relative to additions or adjustments to the agenda. I have one to get us started. The executive session on the agenda was a holding spot that we do not need, so we will take that off. Does anyone else have any additions or amendments they want to make to the agenda? All right, great. Seeing none, I would welcome any comments from the audience. Anybody? Is that microphone on? Yeah. Well, is anyone going to use it? Okay. I would hear an action to accept as printed the minutes of our June 18th regular business meeting.
So moved.
Someone want to second it?
Second.
All right.
Giving Lauren time.
I know.
Give Lauren a minute. Anyone see anything in those minutes for edits? No? All right. All in favor? Opposed? Maggie, can you see us all right at that angle? If anyone opposes anything, I'll make a big show of it so you'll know. Okay, great. All right, moving on. We have no old business. For new business, we are going to take up our proposed budget. Before we get into a motion on that, I thought it made sense to invite Sam to give a little report to the meeting about the Finance Committee meeting that happened last week.
Thank you, Penny. Hopefully this is not too hot. And I think most of the people here were also at the Finance Committee meeting, but for the general public, anybody who's streaming, just want to give a little rundown of a really kind of long and thorough discussion of a lot of data. And then we went through Superintendent Turner's proposed budget. So just as an example, David and Jen from the business office really put together some great slices of our historical data. So we looked at 3-year article expenditure balances, right? It gave us a great picture that, there isn't sort of a universal trend of us always underspending every article. Some articles are overspent, some articles are underspent, right? So it's not as though, kind of the overage that we've seen is universal. Also, we see that we're getting closer and closer to the mark in the last 3 years as we've kind of escaped COVID and we have a little more certainty. We've had a little more certainty in our budgeting, and we've come really close. We spent more than, and again, these are unaudited numbers because the fiscal year just closed on July 1st, but we spent more than 95% of our budget. I think it was 95.5% of the budget in the last year. And that's still with maybe a couple bills hanging out there. So, we had a lot of confidence there that we're going in the right direction. And then we've also gotten some feedback that it's a little bit difficult to see the forest for the trees when you look at our 84-page, 1,000-line item budget. So the business office did a great job of looking at our expenditures by function area, and you can see that there's some function areas like transportation where we have budgeted more that we've used on a consistent basis, but that's something that we knew. We knew we can't hire bus drivers. We knew we had money from unfilled positions. But then you see other things like the school board contingency, the school board administration. We've overspent, and that makes sense because we had a superintendent change in the last year, and we had kind of overlapping superintendent expenditures for a little while. We had to hire a recruitment firm, all that sort of stuff. So I think it gave the committee a really good view of how we spend our money in a couple of different ways, and I think we had some confidence that we were sort of being responsible and doing the right things. And then I think there's been a lot of discussion about the fund balances and what exactly is in each fund, and so we have a great fund balance breakdown that we can look at. Anybody who wants to look at this stuff, it's in the Finance Committee meeting folder from last week. You can dive into all these spreadsheets yourself. But you can see where we've been spending down our funds in a way that maybe we are saying in a narrative function, but we haven't necessarily shown in this manner in numbers because we were told, and it was prudent to carry a little bit more money during the sort of COVID pandemic when there was a lot of uncertainty and we had some federal dollars coming in. Legislature told us we could go up to 9% in our unassigned balance. And now we are drawing that down. We drew down by $750,000 in the last year, and we heard a report from Jen and David that if we sort of do everything we've outlined that we're doing, we'll likely draw it down by a little bit more in this coming year. They believe we're going to spend basically every dollar available to us. And that's because the last thing that we looked at was a little bit of our revenues. Jen reminded us that those ED 279 revenue numbers that we get, we sort of think of them as set in stone when in reality they are sort of estimates from the state government. And this year we got about $200,000 less from the state than we thought. So when you kind of combine that with the amount of money that we're rolling over and the 95.5% that we've spent of the budget, we really get to this place where there's, nickels in the cushions for this year's budget. So we felt really good about the path that we've taken. And so then we looked at the superintendent's proposed budget summary, which hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at. As a result of being able to look at some things in July versus in April when we have to put together the first draft, we found a fair amount of savings. When we saw the real selections by our staff for the health insurance, for instance, we realized that it would come in about I think it was about $100,000 less than we had sort of conservatively projected. David found some savings by finding a better interest rate on the HVAC bond that we put out there than we were expecting, so that saved us a little bit of money. We were able to save some money by using a private contractor for our Family Medical Leave Act provider. We shave about a 0.5% of spending off there. And so all told, we were able to find about $350,000 in savings and reductions, which would bring down the overall budget increase by a full percentage point from where we last put it in front of voters. And we took a vote on that. one of the committee members made a motion to reduce the superintendent's proposed number by, I think it was $1.5 million. That amendment did not get a second. And then we went to a full vote, and it passed 4-1. And then we went and looked at the revenue side and really just took a hard look at what rolling over $1.25 million from our general fund would mean for our fund balances. We took a look at the committed fund balance and talked a lot about how we had been stashing money there in the capital reserve on purpose. One of the reasons that we saw $1 million move from our unassigned balance to our committed funds is because, if people remember, 2 years ago, on 2 years in a row, we took $500,000 and put it in that capital reserve with the intention of using it to kind of seed a big bond and capital project that ended up being defeated at the polls. But we were trying to be prudent with that money that we had left over, rather than just roll it all the way over and then ask for it again when we got to the bond. So in the end, no one wanted to make a motion to change that 1.25 rollover, and so we still recommend from the Finance Committee that we roll over that much from the revenue side, and that we support the proposed budget from the superintendent as presented in our packet. Happy to answer any questions about all that deliberation.
Thank you, Sam. Does anyone have any questions about the Finance Committee meeting? Great.
I think everybody was there, so.
Yes. That's helpful. All right, so let's, in the spirit of staying organized, hear a motion on the proposal amount and get into discussion after.
I make a motion to discuss the approving of the 2025 school budget proposal in the amount of $34,900,665 for public ratification.
Second.
All right. Discussion, questions, thoughts? Yes. There's a slight number discrepancy.
A lesson in wear your glasses when you have them. In a couple of spots that were not official documentation, I accidentally reported the total budget proposal as $34,900,662. It is 665, which is very clear when one puts their glasses on. So I apologize for that error. All of the official documentation has had 665. I now put my glasses on when I double check that, and the proposal in front of you is 665 also. My deepest apologies for that error.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? A lot of folks came out on a hot July night. We're not going to give them a good show, spirited debate. Sam?
I just want to make it clear that I support this budget proposal wholeheartedly, not just as the Finance Committee Chair, but as me, school board member who's been here for 10 years. I just want to emphasize that I really, it's not that our process doesn't have flaws or can't be improved upon. Chanda and I actually had a great discussion the other day on just sort of brainstorming how we might do things differently. Kind of one of the recurring themes of the Finance Committee meeting was we never thought to look at slicing, by function area. We haven't actually looked at spending trends by article over a 3-year period before in the 10 years I've been on the board. It is a good thing to look at things with fresh eyes, and I appreciate you have new people in the business office. They are saying, hey, how about this? I love brainstorming. I love good ideas. But I really think that we have been thorough and thoughtful and have put in the appropriate amount of work on making sure that we have done our due diligence. And I also want to emphasize just how much work gets done before it gets to the school board by our administrative staff. And, just having Chanda, David, and Jen, and everybody who supports them in the central office, just being so attentive as a finance chair, I'm able to ask them questions to make sure I understand the documents. They just really know what they're talking about. And I just want to emphasize that, the number doesn't magically appear. I don't think anybody thinks that, but it is the result of a lot of hard work. And that 662 versus 665 is not meaningless. They have a reason for every single dollar that they put in front of us, and I just want to send my appreciation to them for that.
Thank you, Sam. Anybody else? One thought I would add that's not very transparent to folks joining us or watching from home, that everyone on the board is aware of, is when we get an email, when we get a phone call to our group, they are shared amongst all board members. And this was probably the biggest communication getter I've had since I've been on the board. And I will say that every single message we received was consistent in the request that we not impact students and changes to the budget, that we not impact staffing, that we make as narrow choices as we can to give the kids the education they deserve. So we did get a fair amount of emails and phone calls to that effect as well. So gone. Anyone else want to chime in?
This was my first budget go-round, soup to nuts, and I really feel like, is it not working?
Oh, did you turn it on?
I did.
Oh, there you go.
I did, here I am.
There you go.
This was my first budget process from beginning to end, and I really do appreciate the hard work that admin put in, because when they present stuff to us, it really is coherent. It's easy for us to try to figure out what's going on. Yes, some of the reports are huge, but they've always answered a question or told me how to find something. And I really feel like that they did the work, and then we as a finance committee did the work to try to find savings where we could find savings. We don't want to scrimp on our kids. We're cognizant of the impact we're having on our communities, and I support the budget, and I appreciate everyone's hard work.
Great. Hunter?
Can you hear me? I'd just like to add to that, as being someone new to this whole sort of process, I think the central office has really listened to our requests. They've come back with lots of helpful information, at least to me. I know Sam said it best in the finance committee last week. There's not really much more that they can do. I mean, if you really add up the numbers, it's like, 4.79 increase, and 4.5 of that is important stuff for our teacher contracts and benefits. So there's really not much more that we can take away from. It'd be really nitpicking, but I will say that the finance committee and the board itself has really done a good job since the budget last failed, and really listening and putting their input into it. Thank you.
Thanks, Hunter. Gary?
I just wanted to add that I supported the original budget. I still support the original budget. I thought it was fair. I give the business office a lot of credit and thank them for going back and taking another look with the instruction that we not touch kids, that we not touch instruction, that we keep the core of our mission intact. And they did that and came up with, $350,000 is not a small amount of money. It's a substantial piece. And I'm grateful they were able to do that without, again, going into and having to adjust any of the core stuff that we felt was important. So it's a long process. It was done really well. I think we've had more transparency this year than ever, and we'll just continue to do that. I think it was really well done, and I appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Good. All right, well, let's move to a vote. All in favor? Up. All right, Misty. Any opposed? You got that, Maggie? We're all in. Okay. Great. So now to move through the other pieces related to this, we will want to hear, we have to decide on open or closed articles. As a reminder, before we do a motion, open Open articles will enable folks to, at the budget validation meeting, to make amendments both up and down. Closed articles can be amended down, but cannot be amended up. Traditionally, we have done closed articles in the interest of time and organization, essentially. So I would hear a motion on that.
So moved.
Which one?
For the, a motion for the open, closed, sorry, closed articles.
All right. Any discussion on that? Sam?
Yep.
For the first time in the 10 years I've been on the board, I think this is actually an interesting question. When you look at how narrow so first of all, the budget passed, not like handily at the first validation meeting, but I think was always, 20 vote. I think every article passed by more votes at the validation meeting than our budget lost by in the end. So when you're talking about a 19 vote raiser margin, I'm not 100% sure that we have rock solid information on the will of the community. And, this is the first time where if a community member wanted to roll in and say, I move that we raise it back up to the number that we passed at our last validation meeting, which is actually the budget that we're operating under right now by law because it did pass at validation. I don't think that's a crazy thing to do. So I think I am going to vote no on closed. And I would just, because normally I'm like, yeah, definitely closed. I think we've got a good thing here. And we want to make sure that we're responsible, blah, 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 blah. But, this is the first time we've done this in 20 years, and I am in favor of letting people make an article bigger if they want.
Okay. Anyone else have a thought on that? I may have asked for a legal opinion on this in advance, having similar thoughts and not being sure, why do we just do it this way? The advice is you open the door to an extremely extensive meeting that may result in things, veering wildly from not necessarily the same amount of information that the admin came to this number and that the finance committee came to this number and the board came to this number. And then we risk going to vote in August with a wildly different budget that then gets voted down again and we start all over. So I personally lean towards closed because the work that was done to change the budget was responsible based on having better information and, was pretty done with a scalpel, not a hatchet. So, if we had gone and taken $2 million off of this, I would feel differently. I'm hoping for a concise, quick, and effective validation meeting. So that's my concern. Although in the spirit of excitement, I certainly would enjoy it. So, anyone else want to throw in their 2 cents, Misty?
I love where Sam's going. Do me a favor.
Oh.
We show her how to, sorry. Pause for a quick second.
Test. Okay. Thank you. So I love where Sam was going with this. I agree with him, but at the same time, I think that going back to the polls with the same numbers or the same budget number, we would just be back for failure again. So I'm okay with the closed.
Anyone else? Is that a hand, Sharon? No? Okay. Okay. All right, so as a reminder, the motion on the table is for closed. So let's go ahead with the vote on that. All in favor of closed? Okay, pay attention, Maggie, this is gonna be fun. Opposed? So we just have Sam. Okay, great. So that passes. Now, next up is we need to approve the warrant for the budget meeting. I would hear a motion on this.
I make the motion that we approve the warrant for the budget meeting,
You have to read
As
that paragraph.
approved, and that a district budget meeting can be called for July 24th, 2025, for the purpose of voting on the annual budget for the district for the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
Discussion? Questions?
Second.
Okay, gotcha, thanks. All right, all in favor? Perfect, thank you. So we will move ahead with that. And then, next up here, a motion on the warrant and notice of election.
I make a motion that we moved that the warrant and notice of election for the district budget validation referendum be approved, and that a district budget validation referendum be called for August 26, 2025, for the purpose of approving the budget adopted at the district budget meeting for the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
Second.
Discussion on that? Just, we're gonna call that referendum. All right, great. All in favor? Perfect. And then one more, we have to hear a motion on the notice of amounts.
So I make a motion to move that the notice of amounts adopted at the budget meeting be approved, and that the superintendent of schools of the district be authorized and directed to complete said notice in accordance with the district budget meeting on July 24th, 2025, and to cause copies of said notice as completed to be delivered to the municipal clerks of each municipality of the district for posting at the polling places for the August 26, 2025 district budget validation referendum.
Second.
Discussion? No? All right. All in favor? All right, great. So, and actually, we're going to take a brief timeout here, and Maggie's going to have us sign the associated paperwork. Please. Do we have to worry about signing on the same line? We have a name. Wow. You get better every year, Maggie. Thank you, Maggie. All right, and thank you for everybody, both on the board, finance committee, and our community, for taking so much time this summer to participate and taking seriously the charge of revisiting our budget. I really appreciate it. And we're not done. So the most important thing is ahead, that budget validation meeting on the 26th. Please come and bring 5 friends with you. So next, and your kids, bring your kids. There's going to be crafts, snacks. Sorry, the 24th. I read down at the July 24th. All right, moving into the best part of any of our meetings, we have some teachers to hire. I would hear a motion to consider Ms. McGee.
I make a motion that we consider Bailey McGee for our first probationary contract as a math science teacher at the middle school.
Second.
So I did tell the teachers and the principals, normally we have them present. Given the nature of the current state of affairs, I did not ask them to come. Instead, we're going to have them all of the ones you haven't met will come to our meeting in September so that you can meet them and say hello to them and all of those things. In the meantime, I am very excited to talk about Bailey McGee, who's going to be joining hopefully, our middle school team. Bailey is a graduate of the University of Maine of Augusta and the University of Maine. She has a degree in wildlife ecology, as well as done some methods work and that sort of thing to get her teaching license. She's been an EdTech 3 at Freeport Middle School for the last year, and that's what made her decide to jump into teaching. Prior to that, she spent some time as a wildlife conflict agent, actually right up here at our own Gray Wildlife Park, wildlife location. She also has done field trip, environmental educator, that sort of work at Maine Audubon, teacher assistant there for a very long time. So she is very excited to come on board with us, and I couldn't be more thrilled to introduce her virtually to you.
Great. Questions for Dr. Turner about this candidate?
So we have hired a wildlife conflict expert as a middle school teacher.
It's appropriate.
Seems like that's a good fit to me.
Misty?
So with her animal experience, great, but what about math and science experience?
Great question. So she is certified in both, and she has done, whoops, I flipped to the wrong person, flip back. So that is what she did her undergraduate. In addition to wildlife ecology, she then went back to do some more work around her teaching certificate. So we are going to be using her talents, at least at first, primarily in science, but she does have those math skills as well.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Wonderful. Looking forward to meeting her, as is my 7th grader. Next up, Morgan Schwinn.
I make a motion to consider Morgan Schwinn for our first probationary contract as a math teacher in the high school.
Second.
So Morgan is going to be hopefully joining our high school math department, and she is a new grad teacher coming into the field. We're very excited to have a new grad joining us. I think it might be one of our first, actually, in our hiring season this year. Morgan is finishing up her Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education Mathematics at the University of Maine. She just finished this past spring. She did her student teaching at Old Town High School and J.A. Leonard Middle School, so she got a little bit of both, as well as doing field placements up in East Machias, which is the area that she's from. Additionally, Morgan was a Div 1 volleyball player, so as we expand our volleyball program, it will be lovely to have that kind of expertise on our staff.
All right, questions? All in favor? Great, any opposed? All right, fantastic. And now Russell School.
So I make a motion to consider Megan Brooks for a second probationary contract as a teacher at Russell School.
Second.
So this one is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. Megan Brooks, formerly known as Pace, some people may know her as Miss Pace, came on board to take a one-year only position with us at Dunn School this past school year, where she was an incredible asset to our team. She has extensive experience in the math program that we were introducing at Dunn School at the time and that we currently use at Russell School. So she became a leader on her team and at Dunn School in helping that transition go well. We couldn't be more thrilled, but the teacher for whom she was replacing for the 1 year that they were on leave has come back, which we're also thrilled about because they are also a fantastic teacher, but it meant we did not have a placement for Miss Pace or Mrs. Brooks. So we were very, very upset we might be losing her, but she applied for the Russell School position. She came out as the top candidate in that process, so we could not be more thrilled to keep her in our system. So in this case, even though she is new to this placement, under the teacher contract, she's nominated for a second probationary contract with us. As far as Megan's background, she has a bachelor's degree in English from Stonehill College and a Master of Art in Teaching from Sacred Heart University. She has been teaching going back to, I should have counted the years for you, but I was just so excited we were keeping her, I didn't. All the way back to 2016 is when she first started teaching. She's taught mostly in Connecticut and a little bit in Massachusetts. And then, as I said, she's been with us for 1 year, and we could not be more thrilled to have the opportunity to keep her.
Missy?
What will she be teaching?
So second grade.
Okay, so there's no specific subject. It's
Correct.
all the
Yep.
grades.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor? Great, fantastic. Glad that we can keep Megan. That's it for hiring for today. Next item is to appoint a delegate for the Maine School Board Association Delegate Assembly. So this is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, fairly lengthy meeting that happens, but it is by Zoom for the purpose of, you want to actually tell us a little bit about it instead of seeing if I butcher it or not?
Tends to be about, I think the shortest one, I've done it for several years, shortest one was about 4 hours on Zoom. Between now and then, there'll be multiple issues and proposals and things that the Maine School Management or Maine School Board Association wants to support, and we'll see all of those ahead of time. And this is basically a meeting amongst all the appointed delegates to hear a final presentation on all of those proposals and to vote in favor or not in favor of them. And basically, our representative goes and represents us. We'll have a conversation prior to that meeting in general about what those proposals are like and whether or not we support them as a board. And then your job is to kind of attend that meeting and vote. It has gotten shorter over the years as people have become more comfortable with technology. The first hour is usually trying to figure out how to get people logged in and logged on and how to vote and how to turn their microphones on. It's amazing how even after COVID, people didn't, and all the experience we had with Zoom over COVID, that people are still struggling. But it can be interesting. It can be a long day.
All right. Is there anybody who's interested in doing a deep dive into the work of MSMA and being our delegate?
I'd be willing to do it again if nobody wants to do it.
Anyone? Okay. Sharon? You want to fight for this one? All right, so Sharon has expressed some interest in
Fine.
learning and trying new things.
No,
This seems like a great opportunity, so,
I'll get a Saturday in the fall back for my own use. That's fine with me.
perfect. So why, if
I
that works?
move we appoint Sharon as our delegate to the
I'll second
MSBA
that.
Delegate Assembly.
I actually think we just have to appoint someone. I don't know that we need to vote on it.
Sure, we definitely need to vote.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second it.
And then, so all in favor of Sharon being our delegate? Great. And then, Gary, would you be willing to do the backup?
Oh, sure. Sometime Chanda will forward your name to the association, and sometime between now, well, you were the alternate last year, so sometime
so you're
between now and then, you'll
flip-flopping.
get email information, and they'll tell you what's going on
Great.
and how to log in on stuff, but yeah.
Okay, all in favor of having Gary be the backup just in case? Yes, wonderful, thank you. I bumped Gary down from saying he would do it. It was gonna be Gary, Sam, and then we're gonna bring Sharon in, so then Sam falls off and doesn't have to be the backup. Second alternate, Sam. Great, it's amazing. I appreciate this enthusiasm for the work. All right, great. All next committee reports, we already heard our report from finance and nobody else has met yet. Chair report, that's me. I sent everyone an email, but it was this afternoon, so I don't expect that you've all had time to see it. It is in your inbox.
Hey, Penny, I read that.
You did. Good job, Misty. Congratulations. We have just some recap of upcoming meetings. We already talked about the budget validation. I would really appreciate helping spread the word. It is going to be hard, I think, to gather folks on a July evening. That is a big ask. So I don't take for granted that we will just have our usual 150 folks show up. So I expect the board to attend and bring some friends with you would be great. Wednesday is the July 30th is on hold. We do have a new addition. Facilities does need to meet ahead of September in hopes of considering application for additional revolving renovation funds that are have a deadline on grant application. So we want to make sure that committee exists and takes a look at that. We're going to try our new space at the Dunn Library, and we will have a workshop to follow, hopefully talking about some onboarding stuff, some goals, some plans for the future. And we're going to have that in the comfortable space of the library as well. So I'm not sure if folks got a chance to look, but I did link to the draft form of our meeting calendar for the year. Thank you, Maggie, for working on that. Subject to change and not yet posted on the website. We've made some juggling around, so I want to make sure folks see the eyes to that and understand why. Facilities meeting ahead of our monthly business meetings seemed tight. We were rushing to finish that meeting every single time. With the interest of giving facilities a little breathing room. Curriculum is generally a committee that is able to meet within the bounds of their hour. We have a new director who will be eager to spend some time with and will likely be coming to some of our business meetings, so putting those together will make her life a little easier and have us get to know her a little better. So we're going to move curriculum ahead of the business meeting. The second Wednesday, personnel and facilities, by having facilities go second. Again, if facilities needs 5 or 10 extra minutes, we're not running into problems there. And we have a fair amount of overlap on those two committees of folks who serve on both personnel and facilities this year. So that puts those together. The third Wednesday, policy is not looking to be as busy this year as we typically are, knock on wood. There has not been a significant amount of material from the legislature this year. So that is sometimes an issue on third Wednesdays, because if there is a school vacation or holiday, we do not have a meeting. So we think policy can weather that, and we'll have board workshops to follow unless it's a holiday week. The fourth Wednesday, we'll have finance. Again, finance may have some substantial work to do this year. This will allow them to be the only meeting of the night, and if it runs over, you're not up against another meeting. The fifth Wednesday, should it occur, is a week off. So and there is at least one. So as usual, first meeting will be at 5:30, second at 6:30 when we have two. Any questions? Folks could take a look at that at your leisure and get back to me directly if you have a major conflict or issue there. But I think for the most part, we did a lot of work on how many meetings that means for people, and 2 people took a hit, and it's me and Jim, and he's not here to defend himself. So well, everyone is pretty confined to 2 or 3 2 or 3 Wednesdays a week. Not quite the case for Jim and I, but we'll survive. So any questions or thoughts on that? Okay, great. And then just looking ahead, Chanda has, I think, started having some one-on-one meetings with the goal of getting to everyone on the board. So you will likely hear from Maggie if you have not yet had that meeting or had that meeting scheduled. And then once that's finished, I think Chanda will come back and maybe share some takeaways or themes with us as a group. And then I know we've brought this up before, and I can't really remember what we did with it other than thinking it was a good idea. I would like to consider adding a liaison for Gray and New Gloucester. This would be a board member on the school board committed to staying connected to the towns. So a New Gloucester board member to be our connection with the town council, selectmen in New Gloucester, and then the same one of our Gray members be that contact for Gray. I don't know exactly what that would look like. Perhaps in our committee reports we could save time to hear from those folks. Not necessarily that they would have something every month, but I would like to see us sort of looking to build community and connection, and we've had a lot of turnover. So I would welcome thoughts on this, but I'm thinking policy might be the place to start, to have, just run through the policies. Do we need to make a change? Does this constitute as a significant change to our bylaws or policies? Is it something we can add as an ad hoc? And we have a joint leaders meeting coming up at the end of July with Gray and New Gloucester that Chanda and Lauren and I will attend. So if we do pick up those liaisons, maybe we take turns going to that or whatnot. Sam?
It sounds like a great idea. I do think policy is the right place for it. Mostly I'm talking because when you go to that joint leaders meeting on the 29th, I'm assuming this will be a topic, but if it's not, I've seen that New Gloucester is talking about accepting some money to operate the former YMCA on the Pineland campus.
Mm-hmm.
And I want a piece of that as the district. There's a big gym space there that, we need gym space so I'm just, as a point of discussion, I think we as a district, whether we can kick in or whatever it happens to be, that's an asset that I would certainly like access to if we can get access to it.
Okay, great point. Just making a note of that for New Gloucester. That is current business of the New Gloucester Selectmen. So folks who live in New Gloucester also may want to follow that and or reach out to those folks with your thoughts on that proposal. So we won't look for folks tonight, I suppose, if we're going to kick this to policy, but if people want to be thinking about it, if it's something that you're interested in doing or serving as or being a guinea pig for that, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Misty?
Can we get a list of when those meetings are? Because it might conflict with somebody that wants to be the liaison and has a school board meeting if it's on a Wednesday. Microphones.
Does anyone know when New Gloucester?
Selectmen, I think, are on Mondays.
Monday?
And I think Gray always meets on Tuesdays.
Okay.
But
So
I think
the-
it would be good to know, what is the
What are their schedules?
commitment? I guess, are they looking
Yeah.
are they looking for the liaison to be at every town meeting, once a month? I think it would be good to know, what is sort of the
Expectation.
commitment, the expectations.
Yep. And this was, just to be clear, our idea, so I think that would also just be something to think about or bring to policy. How often do selectmen board meet? What do we think is, what do we think this would look like? So, yeah. So,
Is this something you're planning to bring up at joint leaders? At least ask the question if they'd welcome
yes,
the
I
idea.
actually brought it up at the last joint leaders. So, and it was at the time a welcome idea.
Of course, the leaders have changed since then.
Yeah, so I'll bring it up again.
Yep.
So, Great, and we'll put that on the agenda for the first policy meeting. So that is all I have. Superintendent.
I wanted to just circle back quickly to Penny's point about scheduling meetings. I know I know Maggie is working on that. I am driving her a little crazy on that. For those of you I haven't shared with, my family has a blueberry farm, and we bring in about 30 to 50,000 pounds of blueberries in a 3 to 5 day period. And you never know when that 3 to 5 day period is going to be till about a couple days before. So she's got this like gap in my calendar that she's not quite daring to book because it might be blueberries. So as soon as I know that harvest, my schedule's going to open way up, and Maggie's going to be hot on the phone. So thank you, the blueberries. Thank you for your patience, and as does my family. Okay, so the important piece, we have a couple new hires. Derek Durazio is coming on as a second shift custodian here at the high school, which is very needed, and we so appreciate it. Kaylee Chase is coming on full-time as a van driver and transportation, as well as a van aide. What you will see come up in next month is it's a transfer, but it's not a transfer. Kaylee has been working part-time as a van driver and as an ed tech for us for the last school year. She's going to move into being fully a van driver. It's not technically a transfer because those are two different jobs within the support contract. So she's a new hire as a van driver. That's going to be her full-time gig next year. So we will miss her as an ed tech, but we love that she is not leaving the MSAD 15 family. We have 2 resignations, Suzanne Verrill, an ed tech at the Dunn School, and Izzy Willett, one of our mechanics here at Transportation. And that has been the movement since I last saw you.
All right, thank you. And that, with the elimination of our executive session, gets us to the end of the meeting. I am very delighted to adjourn at 7:21. Thank you, everyone.